ADHD is not a problem of knowing what to do. It's a problem of doing what you know. In other words, if you said to your 10-year-old, what should you do, in the morning? Well, I should pack up my backpack. I should find all this and I should do all that. Well, then why didn't you do it? It's not that they don't know what they're supposed to do. It's that in that moment, it's really hard.
Welcome to the Executive Function for All podcast. Today we're joined by Cindy Goldrich. Cindy is an ADHD coach and mental health counselor who has spent decades helping parents understand and support their children with ADHD and executive function challenges. She is the author of 8 Keys to Parenting Kids and Teens with ADHD and the creator of the Calm and Connected Parenting Framework, which has been taught to thousands of families worldwide. In this episode, Cindy shares why traditional discipline often backfires, how parents can shift from rescuing to empowering, and what it takes to help young adults build resilience and independence. Cindy is a pioneer in the field. Let's begin. Cindy, thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here.
You are someone I trust more than any other professional about talking about discipline, about parenting with students with ADHD. You've just done this for so long, so I'm so grateful to share you with everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a long time.
So you talk about how traditional discipline often backfires for kids with ADHD. What do parents need to understand about their child's brain before they can even start helping them build these executive function skills?
Absolutely. That's a good place to start. The reality is I've never met a kid who wanted to get in trouble, who wanted to spend hours and hours on their homework, who wanted to always have a mess and chaos behind them, right? So when we go to discipline them, we assume that the problem was motivation, that, if I just nudge them with a little tempt of a reward or a tempt of a consequence, a negative consequence, that's going to change their behavior. But that starts with an assumption that the kid is just choosing to not do. And I know a lot of parents are saying, yeah, but I've seen him do it. I know he knows how to do it. He's done it. If he wanted to, he would do it. But the reality is that all the stars have to be aligned. Obviously, what executive functions are. So those who are listening, when I talk about all the stars being aligned, it has to mean that they were able to process what you were saying when you were saying it at the pace you're saying it. They have to have the working memory strength to hold on to what you're saying and integrate it with what they know and all the other different things that we talk about when we talk about executive function. So while they may have some individual skills, add in things like lack of focus or attention in the moment, or overwhelm or anxiety, and all these things start to shut down. So they start to struggle. So then when we add in our discipline, what we're really doing in some cases is disconnecting with them because, it's like, you think you're going to discipline me and that's going to make me get my homework done? You think I don't want to just get it done and go out and play or do whatever I want to do? So that's where some of it, the basis comes from.
It's a great reminder because ADHD specifically, it's a disability around inconsistency.
Exactly.
And so it's almost like we're doubling down and disciplining the inconsistency, which is the core challenge.
Right. And another line I'll give you is ADHD is not a problem of knowing what to do. It's a problem of doing what you know. In other words, if you said to your 10-year-old, what should you do at the end of the day or whatever, in the morning? Well, I should pack up my backpack. I should find all this and I should do all that. Well, then why didn't you do it? It's not that they don't know what they're supposed to do. It's that in that moment, it's really hard.
Yeah, it's such a good reminder. And you've built this whole framework about coming at it through collaboration.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. In general, and first of all, if you met one kid with ADHD, you've met one kid with ADHD, right? They're all so different, right? Yeah. But in general, these are kids that they're strong-willed. They have their own mind. They're very independent. And we need to partner with them because when we tell them what to do, their first response is, don't tell me what to do. Right? Mm-hmm. I know what I need to do. I'm 3 steps ahead of you. But the reality is we know they're not always 3 steps ahead of us. So we do need to help them. So we need to collaborate with them. And what I mean by that, and I have a whole process on it, so I'm going to really, really simplify it right now. But what I mean by that is let's really understand what their concern is. Let's help them really understand what our concern is, and then let's brainstorm a solution together. Now, again, I know a lot of parents out there are saying, well, that's what I do all the time. and it doesn't work. And after a week, we came up with this agreement that he's going to do X, Y, and Z. And here we are 1 week later, and that fell apart. Well, a few things can be true. First of all, were they agreeing to what they knew they were supposed to end your conversation? Because they kind of knew what the right answer was? Or were they really agreeing that, yeah, this makes sense to me. This will help me too. That's the first thing. The second thing is that sometimes we don't have all the information that we both needed about what's creating the problem. So we need to revisit it. We need to say, hey, you know what? This is great. We came up with a plan. Why don't we talk about this in a week and kind of see how it's going? Because very often, when do we talk about it again? When it's not working. When it has failed, right? So we want to proactively decide, let's talk about it, because then, hey, let's celebrate. We talked about this instead of yelling at each other and avoiding everything else, and that solved the problem. I wonder what else we can solve. So it's a building in not just a technique, but a conversation and a process where you're building confidence in each other that, hey, if something's not going well, let's sit and talk. Yeah. Let's not just punish, let's not just avoid and everything else.
I mean, what a gift to give your kids as well, right? There's, I want to echo a couple of things that you spoke to because I think they're so important. This whole seeking to understand mindset. I think a lot of us think we're doing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're actually doing it or not.
I know.
And the other one is there's that fact that you and I speak to a lot of. Every child with ADHD gets about 20,000 more negative comments directed at them positive comments by the age of 10. These kids are already beaten down.
Yeah.
So why not seek to collaborate?
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you a little tip on they get all that negative feedback. One of the things I teach parents is my formula for praise, right? And when I say praise, I don't mean, oh, good job. I mean something specific that's helping them understand what did they do that you were really praising, and that it's not about you, meaning the adult. It's about your child. So my formula is notice, name, and nurture. Notice what they did, name it specifically, right? And then nurture them with a warmth and a calmness and everything else. But then I challenge the parents and I say, okay, at the beginning of the day, I want you to have 10, I don't care whether it's rubber bands around your wrist or, 10 pennies in your pocket or whatever. Every time you have to correct your child, even if you're doing it nicely, like, hey, you forgot your shoes or whatever, right? Put that rubber band on the right wrist. Every time you praise them, put the rubber band back on the left wrist. And at the end of the day, see how you're doing. And realize that as many times you praise them, think about how many negative comments they got from the rest of the world and, sadly, from themselves. Oh, I did it again. I screwed up. I forgot that. I can't find this. I'm not going to satisfy this need or that need, right? So we need to help them find that balance.
I love that rubber band trick because making the unconscious conscious.
Yes.
Sometimes we just get so unconscious. And again, to echo what you said, often we are our own harshest critic. Mm-hmm. And so the world's beating us down, and we're beating ourselves down. And it looks so easy to everybody else to get out the door on time or pack both hockey skates in our bag and not be the person with one skate there, right?
Right, exactly.
It looks so easy, and we're constantly beating ourselves down. And we wonder why these kids get so defensive when they become teenagers.
Right. And I wonder what would happen if you did that with your students here. Like, hey, you know what? Start with 10 rubber bands on one side. Every time you beat yourself down, put it on the other side. Every time you recognize, hey, you know what? Look at what I did do. Put it on that side and see how you're talking to yourself all day long.
Yeah, that's a good one. Again, making the unconscious conscious.
Yeah.
Well, I know, and I have a wonderful mother, so I'm not going to air out my mommy issues on this. But even I'm 41 years old, my mom will call me and she'll be like, "Are you eating vegetables?" And I'll be like, "No." And I'll call her back and apologize. We just get so defensive over time.
We do.
I'd love to express to parents that it's not even necessarily what they're doing. It's just the feedback we're getting.
Yeah. And one call out I'll say to the parents who are, look, I'm a few generations past that. I now have my own grandkids, right? And I know that a lot of times when people come with suggestions, it doesn't mean you're not doing it right. It doesn't mean you're not enough. It means that maybe you're doing the best you can, but there's a little thing you didn't see. Or there's something that someone else can contribute from years of knowledge and wisdom, right? And that goes for the parenting too. There's a great quote by Mark Twain. I may mess it up a little bit, but when I was a boy of 7, I couldn't believe how ignorant my parents were. But when I turned 21, I couldn't believe how much they had learned, right? Because now he had the wisdom to realize that his parents did have knowledge. It's just that it wasn't what he was able to process at the time.
Well, I think that's the epitome of a lot of your work, is that we're just, in your books, you constantly talk about how we infer things. Like in parents, like when we're giving them advice, they're supposed to infer that we know what we're talking about, or they can take this suggestion or not. But what you speak to a lot is getting past that inference.
Yes. Yeah.
Making that much more clear.
Exactly. It's very clear. And, what's interesting is that when we do start to really try to reach out and understand the kids' concerns, you have to wait until you get that aha moment. You assume, and this is what you were saying, you assume you know. And then all of a sudden you hear that comment like, well, you always expect me to be the brightest. I'm like, whoa, no, I don't. I'm sorry, it feels that way. Let's deal with what's making you feel that way, but let's also pay attention to what's happening here that's breaking down and how I can support you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Let me run something new past you that I've been talking to some of the parents of our students here. I always talk about growth isn't linear.
Right.
Like I'm sure you see this in your coaching where parents accept, I put in 5 hours of work on myself and I should get 5 hours of return. It's like stair-steppy growth. Do you see it all the time where you grind away for years and the kid is looks like little improvement? And then when they're 21 or something, you see this huge growth. Is that something you see?
Yes. In fact, I'll give you the reason that you see it. So we know that the front part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex where the executive function system is also, by the way, the area of the brain where ADHD exists. And we know that the typical brain is developed by 25 to 30 years of age, right? But these kids can be up to 30% delayed in their executive function development, in their prefrontal cortex development, right? So as they age, all of a sudden, things become easier. They do start to click into place. They still may need the skills, the tools, the strategies to support all of that. But it is that step ladder kind of thing. That's, by the way, why my business is called PTS Coaching. I didn't think about post-traumatic stress when I named it. It was a bad moment, but it stands for Pathways to Success because I don't believe their path is a gradual climb. It is that up and down and back and forth.
Yeah.
But yes, eventually they do start to put the pieces together to the point where I've actually heard from 25 and 30-year-olds wow, I am getting my stuff together and I'm doing what I'm intending to do in a way that I couldn't do it before.
That's awesome. Well, and the hard thing is often we don't get that immediate feedback as parents.
Right.
And so it's all, when you hear that 25-year-old hey, maybe I should use a calendar. It's because of what we did when they were 8 through 20.
Exactly.
And if we didn't do that work, we wouldn't have that aha moment, which is hard for a lot of families.
Yeah. We do a lot of planting seeds. And there's an expression when the student is ready, the master will appear.
Yeah.
Right? When they're ready, all of those wonderful things you've given them, they're going to start to, but here's the big parenting work. If parents are feeling my kid won't talk to me, they don't want to listen to me, that's why we need to help work on repairing that relationship so that they become coachable. Because very often they're not coachable because they're blaming you for the problem. Where in reality, it's not you that's the problem, but you're so integrally related with when they succeed, when they fail. You're looking at the portal, you're doing this, you're doing that they just can't separate the two.
This is an impossible question, I know, because every family is so different.
Right.
What are common mistakes you see that people make in that relationship?
Yeah, every parent is, every combo is different. I would say one of the big mistakes is assuming you understand when you don't. I'll give you an example. Hey, Johnny, do me a favor. Go upstairs, get your backpack, your shoes, your tennis racket. On the way down, could you grab my water bottle and see if I shut my light off? And I know a lot of the parents are feeling my kid never comes down with anything, right? Of course, if he wanted to, he would, right? But now, what if you realize that maybe his working memory is weaker for the moment? Maybe he couldn't hold on to all that information. Maybe when you were saying that to him and he said, okay, Mom, okay, Dad, he was really looking at something else. And so he knew he was supposed to respond, but he was kind of lost in the moment. Now he couldn't hold on to all those things, right? Well, if we recognize that's the problem, that's an easy solution. Maybe instead I'm going to say, hey, Johnny, and I'll give him a little list, or I'll ask him to repeat it back, or I'll ask him to write it down, whatever. I can go into problem-solving mode. But if my assumption was Johnny just didn't care enough, I'm missing the intense beauty of let's understand what was going on for Johnny in that moment.
It goes back to trying to connect, trying to understand.
Yeah.
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 Here's another one I know I can speak for myself is it was twice as hard for me to pay attention in school.
Right.
So when I got home, I was just maxed. Like it was like I was like impaired or like drunk or something. Like I was just maxed.
Yeah.
And anything that was asked of me probably wasn't going to happen for a period.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things I say to parents. When the kid walks in the door, what's your first thought as the parent? Did you do, what homework do you have? How was the day? How was that test you were terrified about, right? Could you imagine at the end of a long day, Brandon, if you went home and someone asked you, so how about that report you didn't finish?
Yeah. And everything wrong with you. Let me ask it to you real quick.
It's like, exactly. So the first thing you need to do when they get home is connect. We talk about what does that connection look like? How do we do it and everything else? But the reason parents aren't necessarily able to be in that moment with the child is because the parent sees 4 hours ahead.
Yeah.
They see 3 days ahead. They see the test that's in 2 weeks and they've got all this in their head and they're like, oh, right? But that's not helpful in that moment.
It's not, and it comes from love.
Exactly.
This is where it gets challenging, right? It's because you just love this child so much and you don't want that meltdown. And it's hard when they walk in the door after a long day.
Right. And let's put another reality. As a parent, your day's not done until your kid's day's done. So until they get done everything, there are many parents I've worked with whose kids are hyper motivated. Like I just, the parent I was talking with before I walked in here said, you know what? He's a major pianist and he insists on taking 5 AP classes and he's up till 2 a.m. every night. And, she knows that's not healthy for him or anything else. But the work sometimes with these kids is how can you find some of that balance? And maybe it doesn't all need to get done right now. That life is a little longer than that. You know what I mean? We really need to, but we can't just tell them, no, you can't take 5 classes because that's devastating to them.
Yeah.
We need to help them see, the choices they're making and where they're coming from.
Yeah. And of course, those hyper-motivated students usually have a scattered brother or sister somewhere, right?
That's exactly what she was saying.
Yeah, it's like 9 times out.
That's exactly it.
I've always told parents with only children, I was like, I have a hard time working with you sometimes because you feel like you've done everything wrong. Like parents with only children, like I had a Diet Coke and now he has ADHD. And then parents with multiple children are like, they are who they are. Right? It's just looking at each child for who they are and connecting. That's not easy. It's easy.
It's so hard. I'll give you a funny thing. So there's a well-known professional in the field who was doing this work before he had kids. The first kid was neurotypical and everything was fine. He's like, see, I know how to do all this. And then the second kid came along. He's like, oh, I'm going to need to rewrite a bunch of my things. And now I really get what's going on.
Oh, I was so good at parenting before I had kids.
Right?
I was amazing, right? Because I catch myself and I think it's important for parents to have a lot of empathy with themselves too.
Oh, so much. I always tell parents, give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Just really parents don't know, am I enabling or supporting every time I try to help my kid? Right? And they beat themselves down because everyone's telling them, oh, you're just enabling your kid when you bring in the violin. I'm like, are you? Maybe not. Maybe your kid's doing the best they can and he really loves violin, and the idea of missing violin because he forgot it because he had so much else going on, maybe that's not the right thing. Maybe bringing the violin is the right thing. And planning with him, how am I going to support you around remembering that violin? And oh, you know what? Don't even worry about that right now because we've got 10 other things that are even more important that we're working on. We'll get to that. So for now, do the best you can. Let's acknowledge that, yeah, we need to get better about that violin thing. I'm going to help you for now. So I'm not enabling you. I'm supporting you.
I love that. Do you have any broad rules for when to step up versus when to step back? I know it's highly situation dependent, but do you have any broad rules?
The broad rule would be, is the consequence on your kid very severe? If your kid's going to end up embarrassed, if they're going to end up shaming themselves, things like that, then maybe go ahead and step in. But again, let them know, we'll solve this, but not today. Today, I just want to help you show up. And that's going to give them so much more relief and love and connection and the good stuff, because the other thing I always tell parents is without calm, there is no learning. If your kid's not calm, your wise lectures, your supports, your threats, all of that, they're not hearing it anyway. So solve the situation, get back to calm, and then, whether it's an hour later or a day later, go back and look at it and say, how can we do it differently? You always want to be looking at the patterns of behavior. If you're in a situation where you can say, oh, he always in this situation, or she never, right? I say that's great, because now we can step back and use my collaborative process and kind of see how to solve this problem systemically.
Yeah, there's been so much research that's coming out recently on raising neurodivergent kids and the parents' nervous system.
And the parents'
nervous system.
Yes.
It's one of these calm is contagious.
Yeah.
It could speak what you spoke to. It just comes back over and over to how can the parent show up calmly and presently, which is very different than most parenting advice.
I'll add this to that. A lot of the advice 10, 15 years ago was you got to have a mindfulness practice. You have to have a meditation practice. All of that is true. That's all helpful. But all the meditation and mindfulness that helps you be at that calm place is going to do you nothing if you don't have the skills and the confidence to deal with the situation in the moment when things fall, when things go haywire. Getting calm isn't going to help. Getting calm is going to happen because you feel confident. I know what to do in this situation. I know what to do when my kid has this meltdown or he gets triggered by this. So calm is important. You're going to get there more by having strong, I always say in my programs, you need a black belt in parenting.
Oh, yeah.
You need ADHD specific tools, strategies, supports, and all of that.
Yeah. What about, you spoke to connection earlier and how important that is. What are some general connection routines, habits that
That's a great question. Thank you for that. I always tell parents, as a goal, and I realize, look, some parents have very complex life. Maybe both parents are working. Maybe they're working night jobs, whatever. So when I say this, no judgment involved. But the goal is to have 30 minutes of one-on-one time with each of your kids every week. Now, that 30 minutes is not, hey, you need new shoes, let's go get them. It's child-centered. And when I say child, I mean teenagers too. And believe me, I know that gets more complicated. We have ways around that too. But it's time that the child is choosing, this is how I want to spend time with you, mom or dad. I want to go ride a bike. I want to color in a coloring book. I want to do a puzzle. And if they say, which is this is the fear a lot of parents have, he wants to play video games. I say, great, go ahead and play video games, because guess what? You might learn something about your kid you didn't know. You might learn how incredibly talented they are at that game. Or, hey, I'm not really happy my kid is playing that game. You know what I mean? Or they may have an opportunity to be the trainer of you. And how cool does that feel to let your kid teach you? And you can say for the next week, hey, you know what? We did that this week. Next week, let's choose something different, right? It doesn't have to be always the same thing. But that's a great way, because then at the end of those 30 minutes, you may be able to say, hey, this was really great. Let's do this again. And by the way, I know we've been fighting about X, Y, and Z. Why don't we talk about this another time? Why don't we schedule a time where I bet if we really sit and talk, we can solve that.
And as someone who works, your specialty is parents, ours is teenagers. The teenagers would act like they wouldn't appreciate that. They would really appreciate that.
They would exactly. They really would. They don't necessarily want you in there talking about their friends and everything else. You have to figure out what that connection really looks like. And for the ones that are really resistant at the beginning, you may say, hey, you know what? You're not ready to do something with me? That's okay. Let's just spend time in the room together. You do your thing. I'm going to do mine. And I guarantee you, it'll just slowly start to melt a little bit.
Yeah.
Step by step.
These kids are going to need you for a long time. I don't think people from my experience, I don't think people express that to parents. We get so stuck in the missing math assignments. I still call my parents when I get stuck.
Which is testament to that. I will say my kids are 30 and 32. I speak to each of them every day. And one lives in New York. And I have friends that are like, you speak to your kids daily? I'm glad if they call me once a week or once every other week or even a month. I can't imagine that. You spend all this heart and soul raising these kids. You know, you've got kids.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not connecting with them.
Yeah, and that role dissolves.
Yes.
I'm sure you're not calling your kids and like, did you do your taxes this year? Right?
Absolutely not.
It's just the connection you come back to.
Yeah. And actually what happens now is I get the question from them. Mom, did you do this?
Little rollers, like, whoops, forgot.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, but it's the modeling that's gone on all those years. It's caring, right?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
If you're finding this episode helpful, we'd be so grateful if you gave us a rating, subscribed, and shared. Also, as part of our mission to provide as many free, reliable resources to family, please visit us at untappedlearning.com. And first of all, congratulations on the new book.
Oh, thanks.
We'll put all that in the show notes. But in your book, you talk about the transition beyond high school.
Yeah. Kind
of relating what we talk about. What are common mistakes you see parents make that transition from out of the home, whether it's high school to college or to the workforce? What are common mistakes you see?
I'll back that up a little bit with a solution, because the common mistake I see is that they say, well, now they're ready, they're independent, they're going to do it. And they don't anticipate all those little things that can go wrong. So when I said I would back this up, I always suggest to parents, starting like in middle school, honestly, keep kind of a list of things that you're doing for your child that you won't be doing once they're out of the house. Not as a threat, not as anything other than these are the life skills I need to make sure my kid has, such as making a dentist appointment, making a haircut appointment. These are things that, advocacy is a developmental skill. It can't be an expectation. Being able to call and do these things. Some kids get nervous. They don't know how. They don't know how to anticipate. They forget to do it. They don't have a reminder in their calendar. You know what I mean? So all of these things, waking your kid up, right? Here you've been waking, I get the calls from parents all the time. I don't understand what happened. My kid got into the college of his dreams, and now he's home on academic suspension. What happened? Well, what happened was the prefrontal cortex didn't go with him, which was you, right? Because you've been doing a lot of these things. So anticipate that. Work on it with them. Say, how can I support you so that we can pass the baton over to you so you're doing these things?
Yeah. So the common ones I see are working with a lot of college students during this transition are laundry.
Yes.
They just stare at the laundry machine.
Right. And it doesn't end up back in their drawers.
Correct. How to set up Amazon orders is another one.
Yeah.
And then
food in the refrigerator.
I was just saying, I've gotten a couple calls usually from student athletes who are like, for some reason, my hamburger is burnt on the outside and freezing on the inside. Like, first of all, don't eat that hamburger. Right. We'll teach you how to thaw stuff. But like, it's little stuff, right?
It's the daily life skills.
Yeah. And so having them cook a meal every once in a while, or do their own laundry.
Exactly. I mean, that was really big during COVID. That was one of the shining lights in COVID, that a lot of kids started cooking because they were home so much, and they thought, oh, this will be a fun hobby. And they were able to cook when they left the house, which is great. But how many kids can, cook a basic meal, know how to use the laundry machine, right? All of those things.
Where can people find your new book?
So they can find it at every place books are sold. In the bookstores, it's in a lot of the bookstores. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. You can go right to my website and read about both of my books, actually. There's the 8 Keys to Parenting Kids and Teens. And there's also the book that I wrote for educators, which is ADHD, Executive Function, Behavioral Challenges in the Classroom. So you can see both of those on the website.
Awesome. I highly recommend those books, and then your online courses as well.
Thank you.
So cool. Cindy, thank you so much for taking the time today.
I love talking to you. You're so engaging, and it's great.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the Executive Function for All podcast. If today's episode brought you any value, please rate us 5 stars and share it with someone who may benefit. And remember, every small step you take builds towards your success. For resources and guidance, visit untappedlearning.com. Keep growing, keep learning, and we'll see you next time.